For freshers, it's a pull-based thing, right? So for them, if they see a job, they don't care about the platform, right? They just want the job. Primarily also because the market was very bad. Friends can see each other's progress. It was more collaborative in a way. Usually, like in college, people don't want to show each other that, like, okay, I'm practicing this, I'm practicing that. You should have some direction where you are going, right? If you don't have direction, probably leaving the job might not be the best idea, because there would be an extra pressure of earning money sooner that would sort of also digress you from what you started out to do, right? There would definitely be problems which are like very hard to solve and nobody would want to start that, but then there would be good reasons why people wouldn't be starting that. Like when I started out, I was of the opinion that within 6 months I should get some money, even if that is like 100 rupees, else I would stop doing it. Assume that things are not going to work quickly, especially in this crowded market, not just for recruitment. In general, if you start any startup right now, you would face competition, you would face like lots of downs, and then you would have to figure it out in your own way. How would you approach this problem?
In this whole journey of figuring it out, you're a solo entrepreneur, right? You're the single founder. Often people recommend that you have a founder from like a complementary background, at least to have a diverse skill set, or at least to have some company, because the whole journey can be very lonely. Now you have started getting an inflow of funds from a reasonably earlier stage, so that's been lucky for you. But many people, they face that issue as well. Money doesn't flow in for 3 years, 4 years, and you have to keep it on. So how is this journey as a single founder been for you?
I think it has been a really lonely one in general. How people used to say that, okay, solo founders would face these challenges, and the reality has been the same. I hadn't stopped my door for any co-founder in a way where I don't want a co-founder. It's just that I'm not spending extra effort to just find a co-founder, right? So like I am still focused on getting the product right, getting the customers what they need, and what would solve their problems. But yeah, it's just that I haven't found anyone who would align in a way and also complement my skills. So if I find a tech co-founder right now, it's sort of no use in early days. I can still move to the sales side, but then if we are making the same mistakes again, then what's the point of having the co-founder, right? So I'm still not exactly waiting, but then I'm not closed as well. So
Got it. Got it.
Let me know if you're open.
Right now, I'm trying to run my company. If that does not pan out, perhaps we'll have a look at it.
Let's see.
Awesome. Awesome. So just continuing that same line of thought, right? You entered entrepreneurship. I would say like 99% of our batch from college they're all employees, they're all in the job sector, right? Do you feel any FOMO? So they're all part of big organizations, they give perks, vacation days, holidays, do you feel FOMO?
I would be lying if I don't, primarily because like I sometimes do feel that there's a lot of trade-off between both of these. But I'm the kind of person, even if I go to a bigger company sort of thing as an employee, I would still sort of have that hunger of getting more work. So in a way, I'm sort of more stabilized that way, that, okay, this is how I would like to operate, apart from the money factor right now. But then there's an opportunity cost everywhere, right? So but yeah, not really in a negative way, but I do sort of sometimes think that, is this opportunity cost worth it, or like is the ups and downs that you deal with as a solo founder as well as in just entrepreneurship in general.
Right. Yeah, it's always that level of uncertainty and self-doubt, right?
Self-doubt
is extremely high. Even if you receive like little bit of market validation, you're always still thinking that, is this good enough?
No, actually, any of the goals that you set, usually your goals would keep on changing. So like when I started out, I was of the opinion that within 6 months I should get some money, even if that is like 100 rupees. I should get some amount, else I would stop doing it. My father used to tell that, like in Gujarati, I think there's some saying that you should have like at least spend 1,000 days in a business before giving up, or like just saying that this is not going to work.
It's not working.
But I was still sort of impatient then, and I was like, "Nee, 6 mahine mein chahiye kuch."
What's the exact saying in Gujarati? Give it to me in Gujarati.
Even I was actually Googling before this that I should sort of somehow find that, but I haven't. I'll probably write it down in the comments once you release the video.
Yeah.
But
Awesome.
then,
I mean, that's also another Gujarati thing, right? So many things are actually passed down.
It's just like I wasn't aware of it until I had like told this 6 months thing to my father. But then it's sort of like in the timeline way, you should sort of assume that things are not going to work quickly, especially in this crowded market, not just for recruitment. In general, if you start any startup right now,
Correct.
You would face competition, you would face like lots of downs, and then you would have to figure it out in your own way. How would you approach this problem? Right. So it might take time. Sorry, I might have digressed from the.
No, I get the point. One thing, so you said in 6 months, you had cash rolling in. What if it had not worked out? What if the cash had not rolled in?
I would have probably still pursued. That was like
till 1,000 days.
Yeah. Initial immature decision making is what I would say that. But then if you have some goals, it's always good to push around those metrics, right? But yeah, I would have still be doing what I'm doing right now.
Let's say Reczee, I hope it doesn't fail, but let's say it reaches a stage where you feel I cannot take this ahead, right? What would your next plan be? Would you like go try to start another company, maybe go back into the market and try to find a job?
I think I haven't thought a lot around that, but then I'm not the person who started out because I don't want to do a job and then I don't want to listen to my manager.
That's actually a good sign that you have not thought about it. So, it's a positive sign.
It's a So, but then I'm not very anti-job sort of thing. So I might take up another job. In general, to start another startup, I need a lot of conviction, which I had for Reczee. So if I have a similar conviction in a different, I most likely might not switch the space because I know that there are a lot of problems in recruitment in general. But if I don't have that as well in any idea, I might as well take a job. So this is just like me thinking out loud in terms of like the problem, but most likely I might not just find that, okay, finance is something that I'm interested in. Let's find a problem and then just spend another 2 years to find the problem and then building something and so on. But once I have some direction only, then I'll probably pursue it full time.
Makes sense. A lot of people actually enter the entrepreneurship space just because they don't like having a boss.
Yeah. That wasn't the case for me for a long time. So.
Yeah, awesome. One thing along this whole journey is you got to work on Saturdays, you got to work on Sundays, you got to work on like holidays. You have a family right now, right? You always had a family, but now you're married. So how do you actually manage this balance, right, between work and life? Back when you were probably working at your previous companies, it might have been far better. So how do you like manage it in the current day as an entrepreneur?
Right. To be honest, when I was working in the previous 2 companies, I was working more than I'm working right now. So I can't complain on the work-life balance. But what changes when you start out is like every day is a weekend and every day is a weekday, right? So it's sort of like you work every time, you probably chill out whenever in the weekday you can take a nap. Yeah. So that way it's also like positive and negative. But work-life balance, it hasn't been impacted too much, I would say, as compared to my previous jobs. Luckily, I have a very supporting family, wife, both the sides of the families as well. And they also understand that a lot of time does go in this, and like there's not a lot of financial pressure per se. So that is the only sort of end goal for most of the families, right? That if something is not coming in, then probably you should think of moving on and so on. But that has luckily been not the place. And in general, work-life balance has been decently good. I wouldn't say it has been impacted a lot. Right.
Great. Yeah, actually, even I have found that having control of your own time ensures that you're extremely highly motivated whenever you are working. So it makes a huge difference, and work doesn't feel like work.
Yeah, that for sure. That I can say for sure that whenever I'm working a lot, it doesn't feel like I'm wasting a lot of time or I'm putting a lot of effort, but nothing is coming out. Nothing of that sort. It's always a fun working, growing, failing, and all of those things. Yeah.
Lovely. If only money gets added to that whole equation,
that's the cherry. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What is your ambition with this company? Like, do you want it to be the next Naukri, or like how do you want to create this space for yourself?
I think primary objective is the space. If you understand the persona of the users who are trying to work on this, I was like these 150 recruiters which I was talking about. I came across one of the recruiters who had done an MBA in human resources, and she was in a good company as a recruiter. And she was like, in my mind, I had taken this thought कि मैंने MBA spreadsheet update करने के लिए नहीं लिया था, right? So that was the exact words that she told me. And she sort of paired up with some, say, programmer in her company, and she built a spreadsheet and app script on top of it, and some sort of automation which sends emails, sends reminders, and like scheduling and all was still sort of manual. But then she realized that this is something that anybody could have done, right? So this is one thing in the persona which I want to sort of fix more holistically, that the recruiter should understand that their time is valuable and they are spending a lot of time in the tactical work that they are doing, right? So for example, scheduling of calls, right? All of those things are very manual activities, calling up candidates, following for interviews. A lot of times candidates don't join. So recruiters have now started doing a call before the interview as well, that are you available, right? You are available, right? Even if the calendar invite is there, just to reduce no-shows, right? So one thing I want to fundamentally change in the space is like make them more productive in a way, right? I haven't thought of like in general, should I be the next Naukri or LinkedIn or whatever? But in general, there are a lot of problems which are very, I would say, low-hanging fruits, but nobody have spent enough time to solve for them, right? Recruitment is usually not treated as the primary function of an organization, which they should, because it's like if you're selling a product for sales, it's much easier because you can say that, okay, you're getting this much extra revenue out of this product. But for recruitment, it's more of a productivity, time saving thing. So that is something that I want to fundamentally change in a way that the products should be so seamless that recruiters feel that they have more time to evangelize or strategize on how they'll get more sort of candidates in the pipeline, right? But yeah, I think
I must say, spoken like a true engineer. Is there a problem here? Is there a problem there? Where can I use my toolbox?
Yeah, it's sort of that, right? I am a builder in a way, right? So I do think in those direction in a way where these are very easy wins, right? If you think about it as an engineer, recruiters don't even know that there's an automation for this, right? So these kind of things are like they're going to streamline the activities for them as well as the organization. The organization also doesn't know that a lot of these things could have been like just simpler if you just adopted this platform also.
Speaking of automation, how has GPT affected your space?
Yeah, I think every tool now has a .ai domain, so I'm yet to buy that.
Awesome.
But yeah, in general, I think there would be a lot of help per se from ChatGPT kind of abstractions. A lot of recruiters ask me that will that take our jobs? I would most likely say no, because a recruiter does a lot of things which are supposed to be manual, right? If you are doing an intro call where you're evangelizing, if you have a script and someone just reciting that to the candidate, it's not going to give a good candidate experience. So recruiters are going to be there. Their role is going to be there. It's just that if you're doing something, say 100 times a day, which is the same thing, that's most likely going to be replaced, right? If not replaced already, it should have been replaced already, but then it would get replaced, right? So for example, say finding the right job description, right? You would have like a one template which ChatGPT would give you. You can just consult your hiring manager saying that, okay, what do you want to edit in this? Just build that, right? So there are multiple things that recruiters do manually right now. A lot of those things would go away, but then the role description would change. Right now, if you see any recruiter's job description, they would say you have to do like end-to-end recruitment per se, right? So like you do the calling, you do the scheduling, you do the offer rollout, offer negotiation, everything is your job, right? But yeah, that would sort of change for sure.
What about from the candidate's point of view? Do you see like doctored resumes with all fancy words and already resumes oversell candidates?
It's already there, right? It's already there. It's still, it's just making the recruiter's life more harder to parse out these things. Surprisingly, I have seen these 40,000 candidates resumes and I'm decently disappointed with the resume quality. I don't know. I thought that there's enough wisdom out there for resumes to just tailor it in the right way. But a lot of mass is not still following those. Like probably tier 1, tier 2 colleges have that good environment, but then a lot of candidates are still not following that. Like basic checks like Grammarly also people are not using. They're just like resume is going to be your first impression, right? So you should at least make sure that that goes through. So a lot of these things still need awareness sort of thing. So that's where ChatGPT would definitely help them. They would also help them solve assignments if they're given offline assignments. So yeah, that it just makes the recruiters and hiring managers' job a bit harder. Right?
You seem to have a lot of sympathy for the recruiters.
No, for both the parties. Yeah. So it's just easier for the candidate to trick around. It's just
Got it.
I was a candidate, so I cannot take a lot of side. So I'm on both sides as long as recruitment's purpose is served, right? So
lovely. You have spent some time in this market, so I'd like to understand from you, what exactly have you seen that companies ask for, and essentially the skill gap that is there in between what the company asks for and what candidates are presently there in the market?
Yeah, I think a lot of things are out of place in that terms. Like for example, DSA interviews is something. It has almost become like say IIT preference now. So now sort of that this is the model that you have to follow. This is the model. If you follow, then you'll probably pass the interviews. But a lot of things would change also in that, right? So I would say that in terms of the gap, either the interview process should reflect what the work you are going to do, as well as from the candidates end. The candidates are still, if they are still doing just the college courses, they are way beyond the exact like top 2% kind of crowd, right? So it's no longer like if you can't in IIT sort of terms, you can't just rely on school marks and then say that I'll crack JEE main, right? So in the same way, if you sort of just work in say college courses, unless the college is very up to date with like what the industry needs and their courses are designed in those ways, there would be a lot of gaps. So you will have to do something outside of your college to definitely show companies that you are interested in doing something, right? For some reason, it's also contradictory because companies are still seeing the CGPA of the candidate, right? And they are saying that, okay, you should not do college sort of thing, right? So it's a contradictory statement there. But then, yeah, there's a lot of gap there as well. Like the curriculum is different than what industry needs. A lot of internships needs to happen in the college, but then college doesn't sort of want you to do internships. A lot of colleges do that. And okay, you can't go for internships. Even if that's part-time, usually candidates need to find that offline and then sort of still appear. So that requires a lot of motivation from the candidates and as well to find these things. They need not just motivation, there's also an awareness issue that, okay, they don't even know that this is something that will be affected, right? So when they reach the 4th year, that's when they realize that, okay, companies are asking outside of college, but then they haven't done anything, right? So
basically, you say practical hands-on working experience,
right?
To a large extent, mainly because your coursework in most institutes is not in line with what the industry requires.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. And do you see like what exactly do you see at slightly maybe senior levels, or I'd say like middle levels, like maybe 5 years experience? Do you see some typically a candidate who has worked for 5 years might have filled in a lot of these gaps, understand how the industry works, but yet there are issues in that space as well.
For experienced candidates, the problem is a different problem, right? So the problem there is the company most likely won't let you experiment a lot, right? Because they have their stable systems. They don't want to just play around things. So if you're not motivated enough, you would still be sticking to a particular technology or particular stack of things. For example, say monolithic architecture. If you have been working with a monolithic architecture for say 5 years, for you to take that switch of a microservices background, having an events framework in place, monitoring in place, distributed tracing and everything, those things would be like a steep learning curve for you, right? So you need to sort of look outside of what you're doing, same how you do for college as well. Just that college gives you more time than your companies, but you need to be acknowledging of this fact that this is going to happen when you sort of switch, right? So anyways, they are going to ask this in the interviews, right? That what did you do in your last company? So might as well have something on your resume which convinces them of.
So you're primarily looking at the Indian market, right? Do you see similar problems also in the Western markets?
To be honest, I haven't in these 150 recruiters, I haven't reached out to any of the US recruiters, but I have seen a lot of companies using good tools there already. So my sort of proxy understanding is still they are better using tools already. So there the game might be to make them switch from an existing platform which is not working for their needs. But I would be very early to sort of comment on those aspects.
And so largely you're saying Indian space, lot of messes there which you're looking at.
Yeah, there might be in non-Indian space as well, just that I haven't evaluated it. Right?
Okay. Very insightful, man. Very insightful. Having spent time in the market, I think that's a lot of food for thought for people. So one section which I'm newly introducing is called as the case study section. So there's in a lot of business schools, what they do is they have these things called as case studies. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah.
So basically, you have real world scenarios, and many of these candidates are put into these real world scenarios, and they're asked to kind of solve the problem. And you are right now in the real world, so I kind of want to understand how you think through a problem potentially. And obviously, there's no like right or wrong answer. You're in complete uncertain environment, right? And how you react could be very different from how I react. Both of us can be wrong.
Right. Yeah. I'm prepared to be wrong now.
No. I mean, there's no right answer. I don't know. So this is just a hypothetical scenario. Okay. Let's say there's a startup, your company, all right, has raised a Series A. All right. You are onboarding new customers ever since the Series A has been raised. Things are going well for you. Now, somebody comes and tells you from your team that our UX is absolutely crap. We are losing customers because of UX. If you were to hire people to solve this problem, you would go bankrupt, right? So how would you kind of achieve this? How do you kind of circumvent this whole scenario?
You're saying that I don't have that amount to pay these UX folks.
You don't have the money to kind of solve this problem directly by hiring somebody.
Okay. First of all, before even going to that, I would probably analyze that how many customers have reported that issue, or how many sales deals have been sort of left out because of the US. It has happened with us. So I'm not a UI person. So our UI was not the best, but then it solved the purpose. Now we are doing a UX revamp.
That's kind of why I put in the UX scenario.
I didn't realize that was very nice stuff. I would probably still go for a freelance kind of thing. If I have raised Series A, I'm pretty sure I can afford freelancing gigs. And even if I don't, I can probably afford that from my pocket as well. So UX freelancers are decently, like after a Series A, sort of my thought process would sort of change. But then, if I'm not able to sort of hire as well, like the freelancing is something that I would go for, and then probably implement those in place and get to a better state than losing like all the deals in a way, right? So that would still be like some improvement, not the best of it. It might not be the best of the UX designers, But this is provided the constraint that probably I don't have the money to sort of afford UX designer. So like good quality.
Why freelancing though? Like
you mentioned freelancing quality is decently good. A lot of people optionally want to do freelancing because, like, for example, UX designers right now, if you hire them full time, right, a lot of time it would happen that they don't have any work. They are sort of sitting out idle. They are taking good salary, but then they would also not feel that job satisfaction, right? So like a lot of people do freelancing along with their existing jobs anyways, right? So
I think I gave you an unfair advantage. Now that I think about it, you have too much amount of information about UX designers.
Okay, we can start with marketing as the take two.
No.
But yeah, I think in general, you would have to figure out an intermediate solution if you're not able to get to the best solution out there. So like eventually you can't say that, okay, I'll keep losing deals, because eventually that growth would impact. But yeah, I think that would be a decent solution. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I mean, again, there's no like right or wrong answer. And I feel the freelancing aspect of it that you brought about is a lot, because you are currently involved with a lot of freelancers. So therefore, that's the way you're kind of approaching the problem. Another possible way to do it, I mean, we kind of have to weigh the pros and cons, is that I go back to my investors and say that, my growth has been like XYZ over the last 1 year, whatever, since I've raised this money. However, certain issues need to be fixed in order to ensure that that growth continues. Probably raise more funds to kind of
follow on round sort of. Usually maybe not for this case study, but definitely I think this is a good solution in general if you want to get to a new product direction and you need more capital. But I don't know, to hire UX designers, it might
let's say a UX team, right? You need to hire a team. You are like lot of problems, just ton of problems are there.
You would waste a lot of your time to just reach out to the investor than to hire a freelance. But yeah, it's an interesting take. Sounds good.
Nice. What else do you think we can do? Like apart from, let's say, these two approaches, do you think you will take a crack at the problem yourself?
No, I at least for UX, I wouldn't, because I have that much amount of self-awareness that I'm not the best UX person. So, but yeah, eventually, if there is a different sort of organization, UX in particular, I would still say that I might make it a bit better if I start taking a stab at it. Probably someone in the team might be a better, for example, a UI engineer who is already hired on a full-time basis. They might be able to recommend some of the changes and like probably analyze with the data that what's the problem, what kind of flow is lacking, what kind of like if this complete look and feel of the product is what they hate, then probably you will need to hire a good UX designer. But then if there are some like repetitive steps or multiple clicks or something, that I can take a stab at it as well. But yeah, in general, if there's a different function as well, that would be like one of the solutions as well, that try to capitalize on your internal team and see if someone can help in those directions as well.
Lovely. But I was thinking along the similar lines as well.
Yeah.
Possibly also a point that you raised in the starting, where you first of all analyze like how much of a problem it is. And if the problem is not pushing you in a negative direction, maybe double down on your revenue generation, the key components that are really generating money for you, and get the alpha over there, and then probably then
I still, like, in my initial thought process, I would still solve churn before getting more revenue. So churn is basically how many customers are dropping out. So if churn is becoming a problem just because of the UX, I would still solve UX first and then worry about this, because it's like a leaky bucket, right? You're getting more customers. The new customers that you wasted some time to get on board are also going to churn in a future time, right? So I'll still probably solve that. But yeah, there are multiple ways. I think we'll still have a brainstorming call when we reach that stage, and I'll ask you the same question again.
Lovely. I mean, that's basically your thought process would be analyze the problem, see how much of a problem it is. Then B, look at your priorities. For you, your priority is the customer experience. At least based on what answers you've given me. And then after that, C, figure out out of the box solution. Get a freelancer in there, look into your own team, and see what you can.
Yeah, I think raising next round is also possible. It's just like currently it seems like a different like a difficult process to just do that and it might seem like a pity issue as well if I just reach out for hiring UX designer. Are you raising
That's
another?
where you have got to like hone on your marketing skills and sell other stuff as well to the
Probably, yeah,
investors.
probably.
Yeah.
That might be.
Okay.
I'll probably look at this video after a year or so and then realize that this was a wrong call.
I hope not, man. I hope things work out for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that was like very insightful. Obviously, disclaimer for the audience that it's just one way to do things, right?
Yeah.
And things might work out, and in hindsight, you might say, "Oh, that is a great decision. That is a bad decision," but you never know until you have actually tried it.
Tried that. Yeah.
Awesome. So, let's get into things apart from work.
Yeah.
One common interest of ours is finance.
Yeah.
Right? I've been itching to talk about it. So tell me, like, how did you get into finance?
Yeah, I think it was the COVID time which accelerated it, but from very early on in my career, like I had started mutual fund investments in my first year of job. So that was a good decision at that time. It might be from a relative who like advised and was on a regular plan, so not a direct plan. So
hashtag Gujju community.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. There are like when you don't know something, it's better to rely on someone who has done something. Right? So it's sort of that thought process there. But then yeah, he did help me understand how it works. What are the returns of last 10 to 15 years? If you hear those returns for in general, like say 10% plus is what mutual funds usually guarantee on longer term, then it's the maths in you which just kicks in that okay, if FD is giving me 6%, what's stopping me from getting to 10%, right? And there is historical data to prove that, right? I can't say the same for cryptocurrency, right? Because I have lost some amount there. But
so you have tried your hand at crypto as well?
Yeah, a very, very small amount. It's not in loss because that also I had done in like 2018 or something. So they were still at the time when the Bitcoin was decently less. So it's not in loss, it's loss in the profit. So but yeah, a lot more discipline and SIPs and other things came initially, which were on these regular plans. And after that, when COVID hit, a lot of insurance related details, a lot of SIPs, stocks, direct stocks, I started around those that time. Earlier, I didn't want to get into it primarily because it requires a lot of effort as well as you don't know the variables, you are not the subject matter expert in it. Yeah, I had invested some amount. Now I've again realized that I should go back to my initial gut feeling that I should not do direct stock investing because it's just hard to follow all the news. You don't know what things are going to like. Even the earnings statement, you don't know. Like there's some is coming at 9, some is coming at 10th. It's just too taxing to follow all of those things. It's better to like invest in something.
I think it's essentially requires a higher level of conviction because you are kind of designing the portfolio yourself, right?
And still that's also
like
hunch,
how many
right?
How many places can you have conviction? You're building a business, वहाँ पे conviction चाहिए, investing में conviction चाहिए, limited है, right?
You only have so many convictions to give out.
Exactly. I think that has to be the title of the episode.
Yeah, let's see. But yeah, and then I did like FDs is also like recently I've done a bit of more FD. I also did home loans early on in my career. That is
so you have gone and bought a house.
Yeah, that was sort
awesome.
of
Congrats.
Yeah, so that was still for investment purpose. I thought that would be a good diversification. Probably in the hindsight, I wouldn't do that again, but but yeah, still I think it's a good diversification. Like and it I think it would give good returns because of the area that it is in. But then yeah, in the hindsight, I would still have put that money in say mutual funds because one amount which has already gone is the loan interest which I've already paid. And there's also like if the appreciation didn't happen much. Initially, the goal was when we bought the home loan, it was more for like a tax saving. There's some I think 1.5 or 2 lakhs exemption that you can claim on a home loan. But yeah, overall, I think it would be a good decision. I don't see any loss there as well. But yeah, I think finance is something that I feel a lot of Indians are not like, even after these many financial influencers on YouTube, I would have assumed that it has reached a lot of folks, but then it hasn't apparently. So I
There's
would
still significant amount of misinformation also out there.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't help in increasing the faith, right?
Right.
Several of these influencers themselves,
Yeah.
sometimes the data that they put out is not 100% tested, or data
Of course.
itself can be very, very subjective. Like you can have a very different interpretation of it, which shows something else.
Right. Yeah. And usually, like, if you are getting stock recommendations or something from an influencer, it's reaching a wider audience. So then that tip is no longer a tip sort of thing, because like everyone is knowing it. So most likely you won't be getting those returns. So those kind of misinformation, yeah, definitely it's going to cause a lot of problem. But then at least you should have some awareness. Okay, this is what diversification means. This is the usual returns. This is what inflation is. If inflation is 6%, and if you're putting your money in FD, it's most likely on FD you're also paying, say, 10, 20, 30% of tax as well. So it's reducing your amount further. So yeah, I think these like basic fundamentals, I would still hope a lot of Indians would know. But yeah, I
one
think
thing good that we have in our country is we have a culture of saving.
So
that is a good thing. Now the main trigger is how do you take that money and generate more money out of it? So I think that's a key aspect. Also, the whole stocks and mutual fund space, equity space, many people just got into it during the COVID wave because there's a huge bull run. But you still have to kind of understand what are the risks associated to it, and not just go based on recent history. A lot of essentially that a lot of fundamentals have to kind of still get ingrained in people. I'm glad I found a fellow millennial who is interested in this space.
We can keep sharing notes. What you can share me stock tips, and I'll say I'll buy mutual funds.
No, I'm also like a 98% mutual fund guy. The remaining 2%, I would say, largely is just testing my own hypothesis, and also it is some bit of entertainment. To be very honest,
it's good actually.
You kind of stay updated with things, right? And also, if you, for example, are doing stock picking, it's great for knowledge, because then you're reading about, let's say, Pidilite, and then how they kind of generated their next revenue through, first they had the paint, the Fevicol, and then now that whitewash products that they have. So how they are generating more and more revenue, and you have understanding of valuations. There's so much that you understand that actually seeps into, especially for an entrepreneur, it seeps into your career as well. So
definitely,
in terms of
that helps. And in general, like when I used to do direct stock picking, I used to buy like one stock just to see it in my portfolio, just to monitor that stock, that okay, every day what's happening to this stock, and then hopefully then I'll invest more. Like for example, DMart, I distinctly remember that I had put like 1 or 2 stocks, and then this mindset was changed to like, okay, DMart is always a good stock. So then I invested heavily. Now I'm negative. That's a different story. But then that also gives you like a direction, right? That what's happening with your money. If you have invested, then you have some sort of vested interest in learning what they're doing, and sort of what news
skin in the game, basically. And I think with the whole equity investing space, it gives you a beautiful understanding of the business environment, because like things are just not straight, right? We often just look at several of these big companies, whether it's the big techs, right? Hey, this is always going to be all right. But the reality is, you look at the earnings year on year, you look at the way things are going on. A case in point, Facebook, right? They're really trying to push the whole stuff with the AR, VR, and huge amounts of money has flown into that. And so that you get that understanding of what direction they're trying to move in, where the money is flowing. I think there are a lot of very intricate and interesting things which you can learn from the equity markets.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting, and another is completely new to what you have been taught in, like, say, school or college. So sometimes you will also develop a good sort of understanding as well as interest in, like, okay, how do you grow your money? And I think there was another podcast which I was listening. By the way, I'm huge sort of
podcast fan.
What's the word? Consumist. And there's some word on that. So yes, I consume a lot of sort of videos and like audio podcasts. And while I'm sort of like working, I would probably have something.
What's your favorite one?
I've still not decided on any, but I still sort of
Top
forget.
3.
Yeah, I forget these sort of podcasts after that. But yeah, I think Barbershop from Shantanu has been a really great in general to like have like usual discussions on YouTube, which sets the pace, sets the sort of context that they are operating at. And
so what is that podcast about?
I'm not sure. There might be multiple of them. I have seen all of them. A lot of entrepreneurs have been on that podcast. So I don't know if I can. I don't remember any one.
You can
specific.
do justice to the.
Yeah. No, I don't remember. It's not that I'm not able to choose from these. But then I think a lot of these podcasts I have been listening to. I like listening to Nitin Kamath a lot. I have probably consumed all of his podcasts. But yeah, in general, he has been a good sort of.
So you're kind of like alone in this, not alone, but figuratively, it's a little lonely journey. So would you say this kind of content is essentially kind of like your mentor, or do you have like other physical people you can get in touch with? And how does like mentorship play into this whole space you're in?
I think mentorship mostly, this content is one. And another thing is like I have built good friends in both the previous companies that I worked with from IIIT as well. A lot of folks when I'm in touch with, I sort of still when I'm stuck at something, I'll probably also just reach out to them and ask them. Those people are also sort of like give them a problem and they'll figure out a solution. And usually with my friends, it's the relationship is not in a way where I'll be calling them every month or so. But whenever after say 2 years also I'm calling them, the discussion is going to be very like as if we were friends before 2 years, right? So that has been a good help. I could probably reach out to any friend and throw them some problem, just brainstorm ideas, show my suggestions, hear their suggestions.
Lovely.
So yeah, that has been not a advisor as such, but then still sort of a good friend.
I mean, always helps in having somebody who can challenge your views or and most of the people typically in this kind of circle are smart people, right? So they obviously have strong opinions.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I think that's more or less it. Do you have any like final messages for people? Any big learnings that you want to share? Let's say somebody's trying to get into this entrepreneurship space, or any like one key takeaway that you think is going to help them?
I think if you are in the entrepreneurship space, you will have to have a lot of grit, right? This word I've learned recently, which perfectly encapsulates a lot of things like ambition plus patience plus persistence sort of thing. You'll have to have that, and like there's no easy returns, right? So like a lot of people do
no free lunches.
So a lot of people do get into this assuming there would be like fame and like credits to Shark Tank there, but then it's not as shiny as it sounds. So it takes a lot of your emotional sort of quotient, and but in general it's very fun. In general, if you like building stuff, if you like solving challenges, if you like being operating in uncertain environments, it would be of good sort of thing for you, right?
Got it. So come in with the right motivation and expectations, and embrace the challenge.
Embrace the challenge.
You get some satisfaction from it.
Yes, awesome. Definitely.
Okay, cool. I think we're going to end the podcast with that. Thanks for coming on. Awesome discussion. What has your experience been on this podcast?
It has been really great. I thought I'll be taking a lot of takes, but then probably we have done it in a single take. So yeah, this has been a good conversation. Thanks a lot for having me up.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. I had a great time and hope the audience enjoys the content as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Thank you. Chalo.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, man. Yeah. Bye.
Thanks. Chalo, tata. Bye.